Hey there, thank you so much for tuning into our podcast. But before I take you to your show, I have a very small request to make. Do check out the other episodes that we have created so far. And as you know, we are available on all major music and podcast streaming apps across the world. So, whichever podcasting platform you're listening to, do hit the follow button and leave us a rating, as that will help us improve our content and reach a wider audience. And with that, welcome to the show. Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Devyo Sajjano. It has been an amazing week so far, and I hope all of you are doing great. And today we have a very interesting guest. It's 100% complementing with the current scenario that's happening in the world. And I guess a lot of our listeners are already hearing a lot of these things in the news and through different mediums. So today we are going to talk in depth about all things technology, what's happening in the IT industry. Is the boom over or is it still there? What's coming next? And everything. And for that, I have a master in this field, senior software engineer in a leading tech firm. And he just knows how to do it, man. I mean, all the interviews you talk about any leading company in the world, any dream company that you think of, and he'll tell you how to get through. So without taking much of your time, let me introduce Mayank Sinha. Mayank, bhai, how are you doing?
Hey, hi Gaurav. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a little nervous time for the industry, don't you think so?
Yeah, it's definitely testing times, I would say. Not
Yeah,
something which I have personally seen in my decade of career, but
right.
definitely we'll get through this.
Of course. Of course. Because why I always wanted to make this podcast with you because throughout like throughout the last year, maybe we can say after the pandemic, when things started to open up and businesses started to roll back again, we saw a lot of hesitancy and volatility in the market because sometimes people are getting jobs of insane packages. Some, on the other hand, you see that there are massive layoffs that's happening. So it's like very uneven and like unheard of in recent times. This is something new that's happening. Do you think so?
Yeah, definitely. Like even at the time of pandemic, I was actually preparing my move from India to US.
Yeah.
And right that a lot of my friends, they were cracking jobs in India itself and having a really good salary. And like we are talking about like 50 lakhs, 60 lakhs plus CTC in India. So I was thinking maybe I should stay here and why should I go US, right?
True.
So, but yeah, I mean, and a lot of them like they started joining a lot of startups, and there was a tech boom, I would say, right after the pandemic started, and it's pretty historic for the tech industry to have this kind of exponential growth. Like I
Hmm.
haven't seen after the Great Recession of 2008, like everything broke down and we kind of take it slowly, and after 2011 things started picking up really great for tech. But this
True.
2020 was pretty exponential growth for tech, and everybody was like coming into startups, and startups were raising huge funding. Like
True.
you
Yeah.
can take about like maybe $1 million funding getting from the VC investments, and all those fundings were a very short term loans, or and a lot of people got that, and they needed developers, they needed good people from tech. So what they wanted to do was pull people from the FAANG companies and get into their startups. So to do that you have to offer them pretty good salary, otherwise they wouldn't come.
True.
So that's how the market created a vacuum where they vacuumed all the talent. And I would say it did sustain for a pretty long time, but uh, as the pandemic started going away and everybody did some measured hiring, and they started revisiting their purchase decisions, so everything maybe kept coming back to its place, and that
Right.
exponential growth, I would say, it kind of went down.
And it
And
backfired in a way.
yeah, I mean, for a lot of startups I would say it did backfire, but I wouldn't say like the big tech companies are in trouble right now. Because if you would take an example for Microsoft, right? They did
Hmm.
a layoff, and just before the layoff, they paid like 69 billion for the open AI contract, right? So
Right.
you can think of how much pile of cash they're sitting on. So they are just maybe preparing for, what's coming next to them, and they are doing all these measured activities, maybe laying off people and cutting down costs in every way, so that they can be better prepared for what's coming next.
Right. I would like to take you back. You mentioned that because of this, insane package that people were receiving, it came through the investments that the startups received. The fundings that the startups received. So the vacuum that they created and the insane package that were offered to the engineers, that led to a trend. And similarly, when we see like Elon Musk taking over Twitter and the whole episode of firing 50 75% or workforce of Twitter, did that create a trend of this firing stream that's happening right now? All major companies that we hear of are laying off employees, and it's not just freshers or mid-level employees, it's also senior employees like 20 21 years experience in the same organization. We hear that they are fired over an email. So do you think that this Twitter takeover led to this, like opened up gates for this?
Yeah, I mean, with every company, like I'm not a fanboy of Elon's roadmaps, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the way he operates and the way he gets result. I mean, that's really appreciable. But whenever a company like Twitter or any big tech company gets acquired by someone who is purely looking for profits, and Twitter's business model was not a very profitable one. You can see that using the app itself, it's a whole different than using Facebook, right? Every 30 seconds there is an ad on Facebook, wherein Twitter is very different. So it's not a very profitable app, and whatever he did to make it profitable, I would like give some kudos to him for that. But definitely ethically it's not right, like you fire
Right.
people and you make them work for like 16 hours a day and all those things. But I wouldn't say like that is a trend which other companies are following. But if that was a trend, like we would have seen Apple also doing some layoffs. But
Yeah.
it's definitely like at the end of the day, every business has to make profits. If they are not making profits, they will have to cut down. Like
Sure.
even if you and I were running a business and we were seeing that, okay, we need only 10 people to run this business and we have like 20, let's maybe lay 10 off and then see how the profits keeps coming, and how we can, if we sustain in the business, we can hire them back, right? Like
True.
if we go down as a company without making profit, like then the whole boat goes down, and you whatever employees are employed with you, they all are like homeless for that. So I
Yeah.
would say I'm not very, picky about this layoff thing, but I would say if it helps the business to stay afloat, and they can maybe hire them back. And most of the people which get fired, they're very
Hmm.
talented people. I mean, they're not like someone who got fired because of performance issues or something.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
that they're not able to pay them, and they don't have the budget to pay their salaries. So they have to find some ways, and they are talented people. And you might not know, like someone may start their own startup, or they can get a really better job on that. So I'm pretty hopeful for folks, and I'm also a lot of my friends are impacted, so I'm trying to help them on my personal level as they can.
Sure.
So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
makes sense. And now shall we like talk about this thing? Like 30 years back we heard of all of these IT boom. I remember in the 90s it was, especially after the 91 liberation, we heard that this computers and everything is making it big in the United States. And in order to get their work done at a cheaper cost, they started outsourcing things to India. And in India, engineering, this thing came into boom. And you can say the IT industry started to grow better and better. Like you would have heard TCS, Infosys made maximum of their business and the growth during the 90s and early 2000s. Do you think that boom has slowed down, and is it because of all the current situation? And is there something else that's gonna boom in the coming decade or so, apart from IT?
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say it has like totally shifted from how it was before. Like
Mm-hmm.
initially, India was the outsourcing for the entire world. Like whatever software you need, we will build you at lesser and lesser cost, and we will
Yeah.
build it for you in a better way and provide you better services. So every business wants that kind of support and service from India. But the way I have seen in last 1 decade is that from building services, we have reached to a point where building solutions. So there are
Yeah.
two things. One is like getting just the requirements and building something, and then that's called like service part. But now we are into solutions part where we are coming up with ideas and we are pitching them up. We are getting the buy-ins, we are getting the investment, and we are building everything in India. So there are a lot of orgs in a lot of companies. We are totally run from India, and that's huge. Like that is the way, to get your grip in the world. And I think India is on a very fast track on that, and there are a lot of talented engineers. And even if you pay the top dollar in India, you
Yeah.
still save a lot of money as compared to other countries because of the purchase power parity we have. So
Exactly.
that's a major advantage. And you get a lot of good talent coming out of colleges. Like there are so many IITs and NITs, and even the regional colleges, they produce pretty good talent, and the hiring bar is pretty high. So whoever is coming in, they're bringing in a lot of value for that money.
True, exactly. I mean, yeah, I totally get your point, but I also wanted to know, like, is the engineering boom, is the IT boom over, or has it slowed down, or what's the trajectory going forward, or is there some other industry that you see would be growing, like, maybe science or a astronomical something, a space, a field? You think something else is gonna boom going forward, or you think IT is gonna rule again?
I think tech is here to stay, but yeah, definitely it's not going to uh, stop people from exploring other genres. But
Sure.
definitely, I would say tech is going to stay here. And you can see like the field of AI which is coming up. Like I see a lot of people doing their masters in AI. They've done their software engineering pretty good and well, and now they want to explore some new careers, and they are getting into AI and machine learning. So that kind of work definitely impacts. Like you can see the work which was done on OpenAI for Chat GPT,
Hmm.
and that was like phenomenal work. Like you can talk to that chatbot,
Yeah, we
like
actually, I actually
real.
wanted to,
Yeah.
talk about it in depth because, I spent one entire day on
Mhm.
Chat GPT,
Uh-huh.
and I realized that it's gonna eat up like most of the jobs. Like, m- you can just think of it's just a beta version right now, but I
Mhm.
hope you'll be able to give more information on this. What is Chat GPT? How does it come into existence, and how is it going to impact the current market situation and the talent that's in the industry?
So I would say conversational bots have already existed in our environment. Like if you can remember about Siri, I
Yeah,
think it came in 2010 or something when iPhone 5s came,
sure.
and it
Yeah.
had a Siri within, and we had um, Cortana for Microsoft, and then Alexa for Amazon. So we have all these bots talking to us all the time. But the problem they had, they never had this huge knowledge base which ChatGPT has, and it's been trained on like some billions of knowledge articles. And so the thing it solves is that whatever code, if you talk about
Hmm.
just tech, whatever code we are writing, 90% of it has already been written.
True.
So you don't need to over engineer on that. So if there is something like Chat GPT or GitHub Copilot which already scans the entire universe of code which is written and gives you perfect answer. Like if I'm trying to build a small HTML, static HTML page, I don't know where to start. You can get lost reading through the documentation and reading through what are the tables, how the rows are, and everything. But if you ask that same question, like create a static page for me, and this will be the column, this will be the header, that's all. It does that instantly. So
Yeah.
I see it in a way to 10x your productivity right now, and definitely it will have a huge impact on uh, the junior or freshers roles, because this is the part which they used to fill in before. They would come in and they will do some initial research and they will learn as well, and
Yeah.
that's how you get promoted and become experienced in your field. But now anyone can do that. Like imagine a product manager writing an HTML page all by himself within 5 minutes. Okay, so it can also find and fix your bugs. So it's very important to become the expert in your area, whatever
Yeah.
you're doing, and also use it as your friend. Not, don't consider Chat GPT is your competitor or something, and try to get into the depth of your knowledge bases, and how as an engineer how can you solve the problems better. Like, because it's a chatbot, it can only answer what it knows. But
Yeah.
as a problem solvers every day, your job is to find things which haven't existed yet. You have to create something new, and those things the chatbot will not be able to do, and that's where you will be able to crack better.
I think the emotional quotient is
Yeah,
not built in the chatbot. It's
definitely.
only the humans who possess that. What disruptions do you think? What different industries would get impacted by ChatG? What are the different capabilities? If I want to know that, like I just want to, like, our listeners to have an idea about
Mhm.
what this Chat GPT AI can do. It's just a website which can be accessed at openai.com, and you just go there, put up a question, and it'll answer it. Now, what kind of questions, what kind of answers can it produce? Mayank bhai, if you can just give
Yeah,
us a few examples.
I mean, the variety is huge. Like it has so much of information on everything, and the best thing which I liked about it is like you can have an actual conversation. It saves the context. Like if I asked about the official language of India, it will tell me all the official languages, and then it will tell me like if I ask one of the question about one of those languages, maybe Hindi or Marathi or something, it will keep the context on. Like I don't have to repeat my question again and again.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like we are talking about on a topic, so I don't have to tell you that I'm talking about a topic. And that's the best part of Chat GPT.
Okay.
And you can like I see it in next 5 years as a replacement to anything where we used to memorize and search and remember stuff, like our school education system, right? We are focused so much to remember this and that. But now you can just go and ask, like, start learning about algebra, and it will
True.
give you complete details about algebra, how to start, where to start, which topic. And you can like use it as a own teacher. That's how I see it right now. Be it any field, like technology, be it history, arts, geography, anything. I see the whole universe is there. But yeah, there are some limitations that its model is only trained till 2021. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever events have happened after 2021 is not in their knowledge base. But definitely, I would say the next version, the Chat GPT, I think 4 or 5, will be even 500 times stronger than this knowledge base. So I would say
Wow.
it's gonna be game changing. Yeah.
And it's also like the machine learning comes attached to it, which enables it to keep learning, right? The continual learning phenomenon that we talk about. Is that, like you mentioned, that the current beta version which is available, it only has information up till 21 because it has been fed only up till that. But once it goes live on production for all, like full fledged, we talk
Mhm.
about the membership and all they're thinking about. Once it goes all in, do you think that the machine learning thing would enable it to the events until the previous minute? Like something has happened 5 minutes back, and
Mhm.
the news agencies can just go to Chat GPT and look out for the incident and publish a report, on Twitter or
Definitely.
there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it all comes down to the model, how fast it can be trained, and how fast can be how real time data can be supplied to it, and fetched to everyone who's using it. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, the way it has scaled within its launch, I definitely see that it's going to happen very soon. And the way entire knowledge base is provided, the how much in-depth machine learning algorithms are used, it's perfectly we used to write code for NLP in like 2017, and
Yeah.
we used to get happy if the chatbot would answer 10 questions correctly out of 50. So we used to get that hit ratio, like what is your accuracy. If it is
Yeah.
more than 40%, you have done a tremendous job, back in 2017. But now, like, you can see, if you're not hitting more than 90%, it's nothing, because there's so
Right.
many competitors, there's so many products out there. And every company has their own version of AI substitute and AI engine. So you have to be the best of the best to survive in this market. And I think ChatGPT has definitely broken that surface for sure.
And Mayank, one like follow up question to this: do you think that the accuracy of the work done would be more than the human level?
Accuracy is always questionable. Like, we have seen instances like we asked a question and we got the correct answer, but we still said that this is not a correct answer, and then it said, okay, I'm sorry, I would correct it. So
Yeah.
there I would say some improvements would be needed, like when someone intentionally tries to disturb the model. But yeah, I mean, accuracy wise, if it is a calculation or if it's a fact or figure, it would definitely come up with that correct. But if it is a subjective answer, then
Yeah.
definitely there will be some here and there misses from the AI, definitely.
Yeah, why I had this question on accuracy is because we have already learned that there are different robotics mechanisms which are used in even medical science today.
Mhm.
For like example, knee surgery is
Mhm.
done by robots. Do you think that such things, because we cannot just say tech is gone or the IT, like you mentioned, IT is there to stay. So
Mhm.
we have already expanded in fields other than computers, like medical, for
Mhm.
example, pharma, for example. So do you think the innovations with robots and the AI is going to help in that sector as well? Do you think the let's say the surgeries that are going to be done would be more accurate as compared to a human doctor?
Yeah, I mean, see, anything which is done, from a human, there's always some percentage of error, right? Like if you do anything by hand, like
Yeah,
suppose you're typing something on the keyboard, there's obviously like 5% chance that you're gonna hit the wrong key. But
true.
if you do that from a robot, it's never gonna miss it. Now, the tricky thing is when you're doing a surgery or a medical procedure, you don't know what's coming in for sure. You know that there's gonna be some kind of infection or some kind of tumor or something we need to remove, but how well that robot is equipped with to handle all kinds of scenarios.
Yeah.
So if you can cover all the scenarios and there is nothing unexpected coming out of there, I think the robot will be able to handle it. But if there is some very corner case where you don't have the data how to handle that, then definitely the robot will not work as expected, or it might say, no, I cannot do that. So definitely we have to use it, but with caution. And I think
Or with human intervention, I believe.
yes, definitely, yeah. You can't leave the robot alone. Yeah, definitely anything will come up, but this could be I have also heard about a lot of surgeries done remotely, like the doctor was controlling a robotic arm from another country. The patient was in another country, connected or wireless or on the internet, and they performed the surgery from a different country. So
Wow.
if they can do that, definitely robots can also come in and help. Some of, like, if there were 10 procedures done, maybe one or two they can start off with robots and see how the feedback goes. Yeah.
True, true. And do you think that this changes the education scenario completely? What are we taught in school and colleges? It changes like entirely with such things, with actually the things changing so quickly. We, like, let's say 5 7 years back, all of these things, big data, artificial and machine learning, came into like real time, although the work has been happening from since ages, since like decades. But suddenly, all of a sudden, we started seeing results of these things. We had like chat bots
Mm.
talking to us. We had all these AI things. We saw automation coming into picture. So with everything changing so quickly in this space, in this industry, do you think the education system, how should they adopt to this? What changes, or what is mandatory for today as a student? Let's say if a 16-year-old to a 20-year-old is listening to this, what do you think he or she should be prepared for?
Yeah, I mean, it changes a lot of things. Even myself, I sometimes think about, homeschooling my kid, though he's just 3 years old now. But I would like see, I would want people to become problem solvers and not focus on remembering a lot of facts.
Yeah,
Initially, it used to be a very big deal. Like if you remember all the capitals of all the, countries in the world, you know everything about which president came first and who was the last president in the country. So
right.
memorizing facts was a huge deal, and it used to be compared as an intelligent quotient. But the real deal is how good you are in problem solving, how good you have trained yourself with tricky situations, how smart you are with in uncomfortable zones. So I would say education which focuses more on problem solving on a daily basis. Like we don't focus on more learning and learning, because those answers are right now available. You can just ask any bot, or you can just
Yeah,
ask your phone about this. You ask Siri like who's the first president of India, and it will tell you who was. You don't need to memorize all those stuff. Yeah, definitely it would help somewhere. I mean, you should not be totally unaware of all the geographies and other stuff, but
true.
the one thing which will definitely make a difference will be the art of problem solving. And I'm not just talking about being good in maths, but just a general, like even a lot of uneducated people are brilliant problem solvers.
True.
So focus on that. And coming down to your future and your higher education, don't get into that idea of getting a job. What do I do so that I can get a job? Like,
Yeah,
don't get into that idea ever. Like, when I was finishing up my college, and everybody told me like you'll just get like very menial job, and you'll earn very less in tech, because that's how the tech was, right? Like,
right,
if you start in a small company, you don't get paid that much. You just get something to survive on. But
right.
everybody was doing MBA from IM or something, and I even applied for. I filed my application, but I didn't sit for that exam because I knew that MBA is not something I would, be good at, or I would be able to pursue properly. But engineering
Yeah,
was something which I loved, and I thought I still love, and I'll do it for my whole life, whatever. Uh, Maybe it's even I like carpentry. Like if I don't have a job or something, I would happily pursue it as a hobby to make something and sell it. So
of,
it's just like
yeah,
find your own calling where you want to work, and be a problem solver. And if there are so many problems out there, and people are ready to pay you top dollar, and if you're bring in the solution, you can articulate your ideas, and you can show what you can do, and you can show some good samples. Everybody can crack some good deal. It's not just about getting a good job in a high company or something.
yeah. And it's I think even like before your time, it was the trend that IT is not one of the top paying jobs because it's a little fancy, but it's not the top dollar that you're getting paid. But now with the advent of so many problems around the world, and we see that the problem solvers are readily out there to solve things, and people are there to pay them, may it be the startups or the big tech companies. So I would also wanted to, cover the mid-level employees of a company. Like let's say from an experience of 4 years to 10 years, that bracket, which is a lot of them basically. And with them, what one of the major problems that I hear in my organization is that they say that the kids who are passing from the university or the colleges today, they already have prepared mobile applications on a particular thing. They have prepared, developed a mobile game on their own, a full arcade one. And if they come into the coding industry where we are right now, they're going to destroy us, those
Mhm,
20, 22-year-olds. And of course, like they are there at a lesser price. The company has to pay them less dollars.
mhm.
They would be replacing the mid-level employees. Do you think that's true? That's possible? And what should the mid-level employees do right now to be there in the scene?
Yeah, definitely. So that is a challenge for every company where, the senior employees, sometimes, not everywhere, sometimes I've seen they get, comfortable in their job, or they have some their high commitments in the family. So they feel like, okay, I have a good job and I have like this job I have to do, but they forget to, push further on the job. Like every day, if you try to deliver maybe 5% more than what was needed,
Yeah,
eventually you'll end up on the, top performing team and top performing bracket in the organization. So the only reason I see is that the hunger which I see in the freshers
yeah,
or college grad grades, that they have a huge hunger to, survive and excel in their passionate field. So the hunger which I see in senior engineers, sometimes I see that they did really well in their initial years and they cracked good interviews. But after landing a good job, they, got comfortable. They started, they didn't wanted to, to get promoted to the next level, maybe the lead level or some architect level. So they
yeah,
said like, okay, let's take it down. And that's where problem starts creating. Because once you get into a comfort zone, your growth stops. So you're not learning anything new, you're not pushing the boundaries. So if you're not learning anything new, you should, first thing you should do is switch your team, get some new work, or find a new job. So I would say tech is the only industry which revolves around innovations. Every 2 years there will be something new coming up, and you have to keep up with that.
right.
So nobody in the tech industry can say that I learned Java and I survived like 30 years of career. No, there are a lot of things. Like coding is just 10% of what the tech industry is all about. 90% of it is a whole lot of different. Like there are so many talented people who don't code but bring tremendous value to the company, because they can imagine like a product manager. Like they
Yeah,
know what kind of features you want to include in your for your customers in the next releases. You can be an awesome coder, but you don't know the market perception, you don't know the customer's need. So there are a lot of things to understand and learn in your role. So if you're in a coding role, you can be an awesome coder and also learn how to lead. Like you're not never gonna be a coder forever. You will have to lead some teams. You will have to drive initiatives. You have to drive deliveries. So you have to learn a lot of things. So that's why I said like it's just 10% of what. And to replace senior engineers, I would say only the 10% part they can replace. But where it comes with the initiatives and the
yeah.
transformational projects, I would say the senior engineers definitely have a notch up there. So, but definitely, yeah.
Exactly. I totally agree to it. And this is like a bang on point because you clearly mentioned that it's only 10% of the industry that codes.
Mhm,
Rest 90% is on other intelligence that
mhm,
they are there and they provide the inputs, which I mean, this is a huge myth that you need to be a coder to be in the IT sector. I
mhm,
think it's right. So rightly mentioned the job role of a product manager who like designs, helps in designing the entire project, who
mhm.
visualizes what the end user or the customer needs. That's such an important job in this industry, basically. Mind by one, um, one aspect of this thing is interviews the way uh, this has shaped up in the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years, the interviews and how often people are changing jobs. You see, earlier we used to only, come across the cases where one person has joined an organization in any sector and they retire from that organization.
Yeah,
It wasn't very common that people are switching jobs every 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, for the sake of money, for the sake of hunger to learn something new, move, shift from a stable point. So, how do you think interviews have shaped in the recent times? And give us the hacks, come on, for to crack the interviews.
definitely. Yeah. So, talking about my dad, he retired from the company after 30 years of service. So he worked in a pharma company in Chandigarh. So, and I used to always poke him like, why don't you leave and go somewhere else? He was like, no, I like the city too much. So everybody has their own reasons, not to switch or to switch. But for me, I have juggled around a lot, and I saw that every company has their own level of interviews. So if you're maybe interviewing for TCS or Infi, you won't be, asked like how to invert a binary tree or something, like very huge data structure or algo questions. But you can get around like with simple, good backend project experience. You can get around that. But if you're targeting some companies like FAANG or something, so definitely you can expect a lot of data structures and algorithms, and there is no other way than practice there. So start small. I don't come from any IIT or NIT, so I even learned this on my job, on my first job. Like I started getting into hacker rank, so solving all the problems there. So in hacker rank, it's a pretty innovative stuff that they give you badges like
Hmm.
silver, gold, platinum, something. So the more questions you solve and the better solutions you have, you get quick badges. So and you can share them on LinkedIn that hey, I have a gold badge in Java, or I have a gold badge in JavaScript or something. So that's an plus one from that itself. Like recruiters can see that okay, this guy has already passed this level of questions.
Yeah.
Next thing is once you do hacker rank good enough, you can get yourself on lead code, and there is a list of around 100 questions which you can practice. And I would say that better sit with a concept first rather than solving the problem first. Sit with the concept, understand how it is used in actual production ready code, and what if I don't use this, what will happen, how my applications will behave. So everything boils down to the latency of your app.
Yeah.
If it takes 5 seconds or 10 seconds to log into a page, nobody's going to use that page, right? So imagine the load which Facebook has, like billions of users using it real time every day for at least like couple of hours a day, and it doesn't misses anything. So imagine that kind of level top companies are expecting you to develop code for. And if you
I
know these kind of
Yeah.
concepts, you will be able to handle the load pretty good. That's what I have seen.
And this will eventually help in the interviews. But Mayank bhai, I wanted to also know about this part, that let's say that the hacker rank and platforms like these are good for coders. Do you
Mhm.
think it's mandatory to know coding to get into FANG companies? And what are FANG companies for somebody who doesn't know?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about them for since beginning, but we didn't explain it. Yeah,
Yeah.
FAANG is just like it's a acronym for Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and Netflix, and Google. So now that Facebook has been renamed, it's to Meta. Now it is MANG companies. So you can say that okay, all
Yeah.
the big four or big five of the tech. So generally, these interviews are pretty tough, and that's why there's so many platforms are there to help you. But definitely, coding is not the only thing that is needed there. It depends on the role which you're applying for. Like if
Yeah.
you're applying for a leadership position, or maybe a VP level or something, or maybe product management roles. So you don't need any coding in that. But yeah, definitely you should understand all the nuances of day-to-day programming questions or programming challenges, so that you can communicate with the engineers better.
True.
That's what is needed, because if someone on your team spends 15 minutes telling you what latency is, then that's a problem for them.
Yeah.
Right. So you should know all the terms and terminologies. But definitely coding is not your job, but you have the vision, like we have to build this. So that vision is your you are going to own that roadmap, and that's how you're going to drive the revenues from, and that's going to actually help the company. So anyone who's targeting FAANG companies, don't think you need to be a coder. Definitely, if you can be an awesome UI designer, like you can build UX wireframes. You don't need to be a coder. You can just do it online and share that links on your resume. But yeah, one thing which is definitely needed is having a good resume.
Yeah.
I see a lot of folks, especially the freshers and sometimes seniors too, that they make like 5 pages of resumes. So nobody's gonna read those 5 pages of resume. Don't do that mistake. Try to crunch it down to meaningful experience only, and always include three things. What did you work on? What did you work on? Like, don't include the whole team. If you built a project where your contribution was only on one feature, talk about that feature,
Yeah.
and then talk about what that feature delivered and how the revenues came in, what kind of numbers we are talking about. So if you built an app for login of Facebook, like tell about how many logins happened, and tell about how much revenue it generated for the company. So always have a this. I see resumes like I did unit testing, I did integration testing for this project. So that's not going to help. You should tell what this integration test helped in the product, how
Right.
your bugs came down. So because I wrote these integration tests, the bugs came down to 50%. So that's a quantifiable way of telling this is the way I helped the team and my company. So
Right.
now, anyone who's dealing with these kind of challenges, they would definitely like to hire you for that.
Exactly. And these statements actually make sense to the, person who's going to interview you,
Yeah.
because otherwise they have to repeatedly ask the same questions to get the
Yes.
numbers out during an interview. So that won't take it forward. But why do you think there's this buzz around or the craze to work in a FANG company? What do they offer? A
Yeah.
MANG company, if I say.
I would say that the perks are pretty good. Like, I wouldn't say there is work-life balance because in tech you can't say. It depends on the team to team. Yeah, you can
True.
be in Amazon and you can still say I have a lot of work-life balance in my team. So if your team is pretty customer focused and very highly responsive on the customer threads, definitely you will not have a good weekend, or you will have some rotation on your team. So those kind of things are there, but definitely on an average you can say you get paid good amount, and you get to work on something very edgy, like something top notch. And like if I was on a team in Facebook, I could have worked on maybe messenger app. And even if you just worked on like on for 1 month or 2 months, you can say that I contributed to the app where billions of people are using.
True.
Forget the money, like the pride you will get just by working on that and contributing to that. And that's what keeps me motivated whenever I get a project where I see the end goal is pretty big and very glorious. I see
Yeah.
that it motivates me a lot. So it's like one of the project I did in my very initial days. It was a trading platform for some European bank,
Hmm.
and every time I open that website and see the index ticking, I feel like something I contributed. So that's something to be proud of, maybe.
The
And
trades are happening smoothly because you
yeah,
had written a piece of code in that.
yeah, that's
So
how I
satisfying,
see it.
sometimes.
Yeah,
Exactly, so satisfying because you rightly mentioned, imagine the engineers of Netflix.
yeah,
Every, like, it's like in 180 countries, 190 countries, somewhere people are using it. Imagine you opening Netflix on different devices in the same house today. We
yeah,
watch Netflix on mobile phone, laptops, televisions,
correct.
and the one person who has written the code for it, is also sitting in watching, and that moment of pride for him, that totally
Definitely.
makes sense. Excellent. But my last question, Bang Bhai, on this, I hope we have you know talked about most of the topics we thought of in a very detailed way. Like in the last statements, you mentioned that in FANG companies you won't get a good work-life balance, or the chances are less. Do you think like the associates today, the engineers today, the techies today are moving towards a thing called work-life balance? They are seeking more of a family time. And because why I'm asking this, a lot of countries have started a 4 day week, 4 day work week,
Mhm.
and this has mostly came into scene after the pandemic, I would say, where people now depend on working from home because a lot of other things would be done at the same time, and this may or may not increase your work life balance because your work comes into your home. But do you think now there's a demand of work life balance? People are looking for it. People are looking for a softer weekend, or a lighter day in general.
Yeah, I would say that's somewhat true. And especially when talking about the work from home arrangement, like I've been working from Virginia remote for like almost 2 years now. I've never been to an office in US till now. I've never met anyone from my office till yet. But the amount of value I get from working from home is huge because I don't have to travel to a place to work. So that saves
Exactly.
me at least 1 and 1.5 hours of commute time. So I'm able to give that time in my work hours. And also, if you want to grow in tech, nobody wants to be at the same place forever. Like you have to
Right.
grow in your roles, and you have to get higher if you're that ambitious about your career. Then you have to push the boundaries, you have to push the expectations higher, and you have to keep a high bar. And a lot of people I have seen in fan companies that they are not waiting for something, they want to push their boundaries every day. So that keeps a very competitive edge in the team, wherever they work for, and they bring tremendous amount of value, but at the cost of their work life balance, definitely. And if something you are very passionate about, I would say, if you're a soccer player, like, and you love playing soccer and you want to just play around, and if you're getting paid for that as well, what's better than that, right? So
Exactly.
think it in that perspective. I won't say that working 9 to 5 and then working 9 to 9 and then not enjoying your job is a different thing than enjoying your job and still cracking every day 10 hours. So people do take vacations every quarter or sometime, but when they are in the office, when they are contributing, I see there is a lot of hustle going on. And in a way, the whole culture of tech is like we have to get some feature delivered as quickly as possible. So
Right.
every time somebody or some engineer is maxing out his hours, but definitely if the person is so ambitious about his career, they get rewarded as well. So it's not like you get fooled for delivering everything and you don't get anything in return. You are rewarded, but definitely there are some people who don't want to grow that fast, and they set their expectations with their leaders that, see, this is why my working hours, and I'm going to be working in those hours only, and
Yeah.
I'm not expecting a exponential growth in this organization. I want to be a senior engineer forever, or maybe for next 5 years. When I would like to pursue a lead role, I would come up and do that, and that is perfectly okay. Nobody questions that.
Yeah.
If you want to work harder, that's up to you. If you want to work as expected, that's up to you. Just don't go below the bar. Like, don't start slacking out and all. So I've seen all those kind of people who are very ambitious and who are not very ambitious, and they're all coexisting in the same team, and they are happy with their lives. So
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, whatever works for you works for
yeah,
you. That's how it is.
that's how it is. Yeah,
Thank you so much, Mang Bhai, for all this
sure, sure.
crucial information. This times where this things are not very uh, you know bright at the moment, because we have seen so many layoffs happening around the corner, and we come across the news every other day. Like one big tech company is laying off around whatever numbers come up in the news. What do you think is the future going forward? Like 5 years down the line. I won't say 10 years because that's a big space in a tech industry. What's in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think the tech will get even stronger with all the AI pieces coming in, and they will definitely try to tweak their products with all the AI features they can provide to their customers. So uh, imagine you're using Amazon or Google or something. They will all collaborate with AI services like OpenAI or something, and they will bring in more AI to you than before. That's what I see it. And my advice to all the freshers: don't get scared about this layoffs. It keeps happening every decade. Last was 2008, and now it is 2022 3. And just keep making a mark for yourself. Be different than the crowd. Don't follow the crowd everywhere. And one thing I did early on in my career was I opened a Stack Overflow account, and I started answering questions over there. So now I have more than like 14,000 people influenced. And one of the recruiters offered me a job in Germany just because of my Stack Overflow profile. So the
Wow.
way of recruitment will also change over the period of time. You won't be even submitting your resume. Maybe just your GitHub account and your Stack Overflow will do the job. So uh, yeah, keep checking for new and innovative ways how to keep yourself ahead of the curve. And that's what I would advise.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. I hope it adds a lot of value to our listeners and all probable prospects, not just the techies, but also in other industries where the ground rules are the same, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope it adds some value to you, and see you all again next week. Thank you so much, Mang Bhai, for taking your time and talking about this. And hope you had a great time on the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, definitely. I thoroughly enjoyed the podcast. Thank you so much for inviting me over. And excuse me if I said anything incorrectly.
It's all totally fine. This podcast is all about incorrect things, and hence we gotta go.
Okay.
And this call, say that again, mate. We had Mayank Sinha on the podcast, a senior software engineer in a leading tech firm currently in the United States, and is doing great and a mentor for a lot of people, including me. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And I'll link Mayank Bhai's LinkedIn in the description of the show. So if you need to connect him for other advices,
Sure.
anything generic suggestions, you can reach out to him, and he'll be generous enough to help. And with that, thank you so much, everyone, and have a great, great time. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Hey there, thanks for listening to the podcast. Just in case you liked the episode, do leave us a rating and follow us on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to. It will be of great help if you share the podcast with your friends and tell them what podcast you're consuming. And you can also send us your questions, suggestions, feedbacks, and AMAs at pleasesaythatagainmate@gmail.com, or you can DM us on our Instagram. Our handles are there in the description of the show. And with that, I'll take your leave and see you again next week.